After the retreat of the freezing conditions of the last ice age, at least 12,000 years ago, the area of land which became South Yorkshire gradually became universally covered with forest and shrubland. This process was probably complete by about 7000 BC. Flint tools, caves and campsites suggest that the people from the Paleolithic and Neolithic were represented in the area. Evidence for settlement in the area comes from a Roman agricultural settlement at Finkel Street, Wortley. There is also evidence of a substantial Iron Age quern, corn grinder, making industry at Warncliffe Crags. At the time of the Domesday Book, 1086, Wortley is recorded as comprising of some 600 acres of agricultural land. The settlement, however, may be much older. Saxon origins are suggested by the ley name ending, a Saxon word meaning an area of woodland that has been cleared for agriculture. No precise date is known for the construction of the first building on the site of Wortley Hall, but the pipe rolls of 1165 record that Alunus de Wortley, the first known lord of the manor, had his residence in the area. In 1252, the Wortley family obtained a grant of free warren. This allowed them to hunt deer and develop a hunting chase on Warncliffe Crags. A chase is an unfenced area of land that the lord of the manor has the right to hunt deer on. It is believed that this was also the site of a medieval hall owned by the Wortley family. In medieval times, deer parks were established for meat and for the pleasure of the chase. However, because all deer belonged to the king, it was a sign of status to obtain the special license, grant of free warren, from the king to create a deer park. Parks flourished after the Norman conquest. As well as deer, these parks contain woodlands, fish ponds and managed rabbit warrens. After the medieval period, the Wortley family became involved in more than one conflict with their neighbours and tenants. In 1510, a hunting lodge was built on Warncliffe Chase by Sir Thomas Wortley. He also expanded the chase, which involved evicting a number of tenants and enclosed a new deer park. This deer park was built around a Tudor hall that is thought to have been the precursor of the current hall. Later, in the 1500s, the family was again involved in conflict. The lords of Tankersley disputed lands within the deer park, leading to violent confrontations. These actions led to the publication of the ballad The Dragon of Wantley, a satirical take on the conflict that drew on the previous evictions. Like many other large landowners of the period, the Wortleys were later involved in enclosing common lands throughout the region. In 1629, there was more conflict over enclosing the common at Hoylandswain. In the late 16th and 17th centuries, they were apparently engaged in similar courses of action at Wortley and again at Warncliffe. A long and bloody war was fought between royalist supporters of King Charles I and the parliamentarians, supporters of Oliver Cromwell, who wanted the power of the king to be limited by Parliament. Sir Francis Wortley I, who had been made a baronet by King James I, took the side of the royalists. He turned Wortley Hall into a fortress garrisoned with 150 dragoons to resist the parliamentarians, and led the royalists at the Battle of Tankersley Moor. In 1644 he was imprisoned in the Tower of London.
Because there was one left over. She's just gone to check it.
All right.
As was normal in such cases, his estate was confiscated. On his release from the Tower in 1649, he was required to make a payment for the return of the estate. Payments might have been in the order of 2 years' value of the estate. This was a financial penalty that was not going to be met easily, particularly as the assessment was based on the value of the estate before property values dropped during the Civil War.
Sorry.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Okay, I promise not to report anything I've heard. On Sir Francis's death in 1665, the estate was left to his illegitimate daughter Anne Newcomen. This was extremely unusual. Illegitimate children and their mothers were normally ignored, or some appropriate man was persuaded, often meaning bribed, to marry the mother. The hall passed through a number of hands until Edward Wortley Montague, 1st Baron Wortley, who commissioned Giacomo Leone to remodel the south front, terrace and steps. This was the beginnings of a period of remodeling that ran through the 18th and 19th centuries, culminating in the hall that we see today. Significant phases of work were undertaken from 1731 until 1810 by at least 3 different architects, working predominantly in Palladian style. There is still a significant Wortley family presence in Wortley village, and local people remember having the family in residence.